right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Camera Culture, a series from Well FM that puts the diverse creators of the NFT photography movement into focus. I am your host, the Cryptolorian, and we have a very, very special guest today, Arwin Levinson. Arwin, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm actually pretty good. It's a little bit rainy here today. It was a lot nicer yesterday. Today I might get out of the house. Who knows? But I hear that you are an avid storm chaser, a landscape photographer, and I know that because we had an interview together a little while ago. But yeah, so have you been chasing storms lately, or found any good pictures this time of the year?
I have been going out to take photos. I wouldn't exactly call myself a storm chaser. I call myself more of a storm waiter. I don't really like the term waiter. I'm looking for a different synonym if you can think of one. But basically, what I do is I don't really chase a storm, but I go to a location and wait for the storm to come to me. Um, so it's a little different than what a storm chaser would do, and I don't have as much success because of this. But for me, the sky and the landscape are equally important. So if I were to just chase storms, I feel like I would end up in a place where I wasn't quite as in love with the landscape. So instead, what I do is I look for the conditions which might produce a storm and in a certain landscape that I truly love. And then I'll go there and hope, that I get lucky with those conditions. So I don't really consider myself a storm chaser because storm chasers, drive all over the place and try and chase the storms. And that's not exactly what I do. But I have been having some success lately. About a week ago, I went to an area of Utah, which I really love. I had actually gone to one area near Arches National Park, but then I saw that the weather conditions in another area a couple hours away might be more conducive to a storm or a rainbow. And so I drove the couple hours to there and I just kind of waited there, for a couple days. And I ended up getting the shot I love at one of my favorite locations with this beautiful rainbow. So I was really happy.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, definitely. So I know a little bit about your process, and what how you described it is absolutely how I took it last time. Was basically you're doing some planning for these trips. You're looking at the weather, you're looking at what may come, and you're going out there based on the data that you're collecting. And sorry, I'm coming off of a very analytical time the past few hours, so my brain is very analytical right now. But yeah, you're trying to look at the data before you go and find these amazing shots based on stuff that you're researching beforehand. Is that right, or did I hit it, or maybe you just tell us your process?
Yeah, I mean, you got it pretty much right on the dot. So, like this weekend, well, actually, there's a particular shot I've been wanting to get in Sedona, Arizona. And I've been there many times. I have all these BTSs from this exact same spot, and I still haven't gotten a shot that I'm in love with. So, uh, this place has to have puddles in order to get the shot I want, and also the right sky conditions because, wait one second. Okay. Because I really want to get, I love it when the sky and the landscape meld together in like a seamless, dreamy photo. And that's what I try to achieve in all my photos. So at this location in Sedona, I've gotten the beautiful sky, but there were no puddles. And I've gotten the perfect puddles, but no sky. So I've gone there many times, and I actually just went last weekend. And I think I got the closest that I've ever gotten, but it still wasn't quite there. So I'm thinking about going back again this weekend, although it's a 4-hour drive. So I have to decide if the weather is worth it. And so that's kind of what I do. You know, I have something in mind that I want to get, and then I just wait and look for the conditions that will give me the photo that I really want, and I just keep trying until I get it. Ooh.
Wow, that's awesome, and you're very determined, and I love that about you. How often do you go out to these these locations? I mean, what is your, obviously you said, one of these trips is 4 hours. I know that you like to go into like the Grand Canyon. You like to go to different spots, different parks, and find the best shots. But how, let's say in 1 month, how often do you get out and get traveling to see these places?
Right. Well, it doesn't always happen, but I usually try and take like 1 week long trip a month. So like in September, I went to Utah for a week. And in October this month, I'm going to California for a week, the last week in October. And then if I see conditions that look really good that are within, a closer drive, I might go in addition to that, just a couple days here and there. I try to make it on the weekends because since my kids are in school, the weekdays are a little bit more hectic. But if, I get snow this winter at a place in Utah where I've been wanting snow, I'll just have to go during the week.
Wow, I love that. I love that, you're ready to pick up and go, but also you take these trips. And honestly, so I have on the screen right now a lot of your photography from your website, and it is absolutely beautiful. We could see why you go on these trips and why you're looking for these types of scenes and these moments, really. Because the stuff that you capture and that you curate from your shots are absolutely stunning. Uh, it is working. It's working quite well, and so I just have to say that. But for those people that didn't really know your story, can you explain how you got into photography?
Sure. And in fact, if you look at my website, it kind of goes from older to newer. So you can see the ones at the bottom are some of my older photos. And as you scroll up, they become newer. Well, maybe that's not exactly true, but there's a range of older ones and newer ones on the website. So let's see. Growing up, I lived in the Midwest, and while it's beautiful, there aren't really, grand, majestic landscape scenes quite as much as in the West. So I think when I was in college, I got an internship at Microsoft in Seattle, and I decided to drive across the country to go to the internship. I was a computer science major. And I took the 70, which is the I-70, which in my opinion is the best one to take once you're west of the Plain States, if you're driving across the US. And when I hit, west of Denver, I saw the Rocky Mountains and I just fell in love. And that's kind of what got me interested in, nature and outdoors. My parents had never been interested in outdoors. My mom was, but my dad was not an outdoors person at all. So when we would travel, we would go to cities. We would never go spend time in nature. And so I developed that love later in life, and it really started when I drove across the country. And so upon graduating from college, I got a job in Portland, Oregon at Intel. And as soon as I also drove across the country to that. And as soon as I got there, I bought myself a camera. I had always had a point and shoot, that I would take pictures from our travels and stuff, but this was my first time getting an SLR, and it wasn't a DSLR. It was long before digital. And so while I was living in Portland, unfortunately, I only got to live there a year. But while I was living there, I took a photography class where, I learned about photography and I learned to develop my photos. And then I also would go take photos whenever I had a chance. But, life pulls you in different directions. And so there came a point in time where, I had to move back to the Midwest, and I just kind of gave it up. There was nothing really that inspired me as much there. And then when my first daughter was born in 2007, I got my first DSLR because I wanted to be able to take better pictures of her. But then again, it just morphed into my love of landscape photography. And that's when I really picked up landscape photography again. And really started to, do it in every spare moment I have. And then about 5 years ago, I moved from LA to Las Vegas, and part of the agreement in moving is that I would, quit my job and focus on building a photography business. And so I've been doing that for about 5 years.
Wow, that's awesome. And so I have to selfishly ask, and I probably asked you before, but the tech background that you have, the computer science. So I'm a computer science major myself later in life, but the tech background, how does that come into your photography? Does it help? Is it even a factor, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it really does influence my photography, and it's definitely a reason I was so attracted to NFTs. But as far as photography, I think I am very much geared towards the technical side of photography. That's why I like to capture the Milky Way and the sun stars and those things that, you can really use technical aspects of the camera in capturing. Like the sun stars, you have to get the aperture right. And, there depends on the number of blades and the lens and the camera as to how many rays you get. So all of those things I'm very focused on. Like I just love and I really enjoy the technical side, and I really enjoy learning more things technically and expanding my ability technically. In fact, I would say that the creative side is more of a struggle for me, and I feel like it doesn't really come naturally. And so it's something I really have to focus on. Like to get compositions that I think look good, and in a creative way, I have to pay attention to it a lot and really think about it and adjust it. And then sometimes I'll get home and I'll look at my pictures and I'll be like, oh man, if I only had moved my camera a little to the left, then I would have had the composition right. So then I have to go back and do it again. So yeah, I think it really, the background in software development really does influence my photography.
Yeah, absolutely. And the struggle that you're describing is something that I also struggle with myself. And now, do you read about composition? Do you look at other photos? I mean, what is your preferred method to kind of adjust and get yourself in that mindset, that creative mindset? I want to say that you're doing a fantastic job. Every photo that I've been doing in the slideshow, it's really good. But yeah, how do you boost those other skills that you're trying to curate a little bit more?
Right. So definitely everything you said. I read about it. I've taken workshops, and certain people who teach workshops I find really help me with learning how to bring out my creativity, and how to get the shot that I really want composed, and that's helped a lot. But I think that helps the most for me is looking at other photos, and not because I want to imitate them, but I look at them and I think, what do I like about this? And what don't I like about this? And I really analyze it. And that's probably, my technical background coming out again. But I analyze it and I think, is this, what are they doing that makes me love this photo so much? And what could I do in my own photography to be inspired by that? So that's probably the thing that's helped me the most. And it's not that, I want to go comp stomp their photo or something like that. It's just the inspiration and really, I'm analytical. So analyzing it really helps me to learn what I might want to do differently or better in the future.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very analytical myself, and at some point, so I stopped because I had to have everything even. If there was something on the left, I would have to have it on the right, and I had to have everything square, and I had to have everything lined up, and then I just gave up, and now I just do the craziest thing that I could possibly think of, and see if it works. But your shots are so well lined up, and I mean, I have to ask. I think I already know the answer to this one, but I have to ask for for people watching this. How many shots do you take when you're out? And I don't know if this is this Oregon? Is this the Oregon coast?
This is in California.
California?
It's in
Okay.
Big Sur, and this is actually one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. And there's a story behind it. If you want, I can tell it. But
Absolutely.
firstly, to your question of lining everything up, for me, composing a good photo is really about balance. So whether it's lined up or not, I want it to feel balanced. So if you look at this photo, for example, I feel like the clouds on the left balance the rock at the bottom right, and the lines from the water on the left balance the rock on the bottom right. So overall, I just think it really has a good sense of balance. And those are the photos that I like the most because your eye isn't drawn to a place where it shouldn't be drawn. Like in this photo, I want your eye to go to that arch. And that's why the sun star is right there, because that's going to draw your eye to the arch. But of course, I want you to look at the lines and the waves and the rocks, and the clouds, but that's kind of secondary, to the arch, which is the main subject of the photo. But this is actually a very common scene to photograph, but nobody has the same photo as me. So if you go, this is at Pfeiffer Beach in Big Sur, which is a very popular place to go. And if you go there around the winter equinox in December, that's when the sun will shine through the middle of the arch. You have quite a while, like 2 or 3 weeks before and 2 or 3 weeks after, and you can get that sun shining through. So usually if you go during this time around sunset, there will be a huge line of photographers, like 20 to 30 photographers there, and they'll be kind of far back from it. So you could never get a shot like this. You would have to walk in front of everyone's camera to get this shot. And so, I had gone quite a few times actually during that time because we like to go up to San Francisco for the holidays sometimes. And so, we drive there and this is on the way. And I had never been able to get a shot I like because it's just the same shot standing far back from the arch with sand and water. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted to see the waves moving into the arch and have some rocks in the foreground. And, I knew from the first time what I wanted to capture there, but I just couldn't do it. So when I was able to capture this, we were driving to the Bay Area again and with my family, and we were driving through Big Sur and it was pouring rain. And it's a little scary to be driving through there when it's pouring rain because, they have those landslides and rock slides and everything. So it was kind of like, a fun adventure with my family. And we got here and there's a road that goes to this beach that's kind of like a narrow dirt road. And it's known for flooding. So whenever it rains, it floods. So we got to that spot and it was flooded. And something just changed in the camera. We got to that spot and it was flooded. And
apologies, folks. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty here. But I think we are going to get back to it in just a second. Wow, this hasn't happened in, I could say this now, a couple years, honestly. So give us a chance. Arwin is coming back.
was that me?
No, it was both of us actually. This is. I was just saying. I came back and I was just saying that we haven't had this happen in like in almost 2 years. It's crazy.
Okay, so I can continue with the story.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we got to the place in the road where it floods, and it was flooded. But there was like some big trucks, like pickup trucks that were going through the flood. So I have a Land Rover Discovery, and you can raise the suspension. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna raise the suspension. We're gonna drive through the flood and go to the beach. And we did that. And so luckily, I mean, I had seen on the weather forecast that it looked like the storm would be clearing right around sunset. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to go there. And I was willing to, drive through the flood and everything else to get there. So because the road was flooded, there were no other photographers there. I was the only one there because so few cars drove through the flooded road. And so I got my choice of the compositions, and I just got up as close as I could, right over these rocks, with a filter to give it a little bit of a long exposure. I like to do, well, it's not really a long exposure. It's probably about, between a half of a second and 3/4 of a second. I think anything over 1 second is considered a long exposure, but I like to use that exposure length to get the lines in the waves. And so I had the place to myself, and sure enough, the storm started clearing. The sun came out, it shined through the rock enough to give me the sun, through the hole in the middle, enough to give me the sun star. And I got one of my favorite photos I've ever taken.
Oh, that is awesome. I love that drive, by the way. Do you ever stop in Monterey? Just curious.
Yeah, I have a few times. I used to have relatives who lived in Cambria, which is at the south side of Big Sur, and so I go to that area. I've gone to that area a lot, and I've been to all the places along there, including Monterey. Although I haven't really taken photos in Monterey, but maybe someday I will.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of my favorite places to go when I go back home. Yeah, so I had a few questions. The word that came to my mind, and you might laugh, but it's like, so these spots that you're going to, do you do a bunch of research before you go to them, and are you looking specifically for these amazing spots? Because to me, it's almost like a game where like you're trying to, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like Pokemon, right? Where you got to show up during a certain time, and then your son, or your Pokemon will show up, and then you'll be able to catch it, with the right weather conditions and everything. It sounds really awesome. But is that part of your strategy when you are trying to find these hidden gems or these gems?
Right. I mean, some of them are, some of them aren't. Like this, obviously, I wanted to capture during this time frame when the sun would be shining through the middle. And I do want to get the one from up above. So, like, a lot of people shoot it up from up above, and then you can see the sun. Although I'm still thinking about exactly how I want that one to look. I've been there quite a few times and gone up there and, shot it, but I still haven't gotten something that I jive with. But then some are just like, I might be on my way to somewhere where I'm shooting and I see something that really interests me. And then I usually won't shoot it right then, but I will get out and explore it. And, ideas will start forming in my head. And then I will research it, definitely on photo pills and, everything to see, is there a best time when I should shoot this, and help to get the ideas flowing about what I want to create. And so then I'll mark it down. I use Gaia GPS and I mark all the places that I might want to go back to, and even places I don't want to go back to, just so that I know I've been there and I don't want to go there. I mark everything down in Gaia and Gaia GPS. And so sometimes it's a place that I've envisioned, that I researched, and I'm like, okay, I want to get Crater Lake with the Milky Way, although I had gone to Crater Lake quite a few times before I decided I would like to shoot it with the Milky Way. But sometimes it's just somewhere I see on the way to another place. Like, especially the places that I go to a lot, like Death Valley and some places in Utah. I go there so much, I pass different things, and I might see something that I didn't see the last time. And so I'll mark that down as something, I should think about photographing in the future.
Wow, I find that so fat. I like your whole process. I find really fascinating, and it makes me want to do it because it sounds absolutely fun. It's like it's kind of that merge, that blend between the two worlds of thinking about everything analytically and also having a blast going out to different places and capturing and seeing some really beautiful stuff.
Right. And I think the thing that really keeps me going, part of why I do it this way is because when I finally get the shot that I love, from that place that I've been dreaming about and trying for so long, it's just such a great feeling. And so, like, in Sedona, the place I've been trying to get a shot of that I like, when I finally get that shot, I'll be like, oh my gosh, that feeling will be incredible.
I love that. I love that a lot. Now now jumping in, we're about halfway through, but I want to jump into your story about NFTs a little bit. I know we talked a little bit about it before, but tell me what's happening right now in NFTs, and then let's go into how you actually found out about them, because people do really like to hear the story of how folks found their way here and what their thoughts are about the space today.
Okay. So start with what I'm doing right now, you said.
Yes.
Okay. So currently I've just been releasing one of ones, like standalone one of ones. And I've been doing that for a while, because I'm, really trying to think about and plan what my next big collection will be. But I was just kind of randomly releasing them, and that was kind of hard for me to promote and to focus on. Why I was doing that was difficult for me to explain. So, what I started doing is I have two collections, one on Foundation and one on OpenSea. The one on Foundation is called Stories from the Stars. And so they're all nighttime photos with stars. And then the one on OpenSea is called Envisioned. And what Envisioned is it's each of these photos is something I've imagined and dreamed of photographing, and then, and envisioned it in my mind. That's why it's called Envisioned. And so each of the photos in that collection will be one of those type of photos that I really, it's something I've really been trying to get, and I finally got what I envisioned. And these collections are, how can I say it? Growing collections. So each of them will have 10 eventually, but I'm releasing to them as I get them. So the Stories of the Stars, I'll be releasing one a month. But the Envisioned, I can't really give a timeline on, because until I get the photo that I've envisioned, I won't be able to put it there. And I can kind of, tell the story of what I'm envisioning and what I hope to put there. And I've been doing that in my Twitter. So like this photo that I'm trying to get in Sedona, that's one that I've envisioned. So when I get it, it will most likely go in the Envisions collection. And so that's what I'm working on right now. I'm also working on a collector's editions collection, which will be some editions that I'm airdropping to my collectors, as well as a BTS collection behind the scenes. So each of my one of one collectors, well, not all of them, but most of them will get an NFT video that's a BTS from whatever one of one they've collected. So right now, mostly working on some internal things, not releasing quite as much, but I do have those two ongoing collections. And then, you know, what's so exciting right now in the NFT art space is how all the marketplaces are really, you know, adding new functionality, and they have these great visions for the future that I'm really excited about. And so I did mint a new piece on Manifold for the Manifold Gallery, which is something that they just released. I'm always really excited about you know, utilizing these new things that come out and just seeing how they go and being part of that. And maybe that's also from my technical background. Like, you know, I was around during the .com, when the .com boom just started. I was in computer programming, and it's just kind of, you know, a sort of excitement about being around for the newness of something.
Yeah, it does. It does definitely give you that feel back, like back then, when everything was new and fresh, and there was always some kind of thing happening. But we're at a place these days, myself and you, with the where this field really has that feel, but we're ready to take advantage of it, right? And really
Yeah,
enjoy it.
definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome. And yeah, I'm with you. You know, when something new comes out, like the Manifold, I was listening to the Space when it came out, and it's really exciting. I mean, there's people still building right now, and all the fun stuff is happening now, and that's really, you know, the space, right? That's really the gem of the space is getting to be a part of everything new that's coming out, and have fun with it, right?
Right. So I'm totally not the kind of person who's like, okay, I'm gonna wait and see what happens with the Manifold Gallery. I'm just like, I wanna see it myself, you know, and just jump in and do it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I might as well give it a shot.
Heck yeah, that's a great attitude, and I am the same way, and I actually do have a piece that I'm gonna mint with that soon. But I wanted to ask you. So in contrast, so you know, folks listening to this right now kind of heard your story that you're, you know, what you're doing today. You're doing a lot. I mean, you're minting on Manifold, you're minting on marketplaces. You have you know, behind the scenes you're working on all these different things and all these different concepts that you've been working with for a while. But the contrast. So tell us about when you first started NFTs, because that's quite interesting, and how long it took you to get to today, right? Because I would say that you're on borderline of being an expert in the NFT art space today. But back then, what was your experience?
Right. Well, you brought up the right photo for this conversation, because I joined in July 2021. And like I had actually been hearing about NFTs for a while on Instagram from people like Ben Strauss and Cody Mayer, and a lot of people that I was, you know, friends with on Instagram. But I, you know, didn't really know about it, or, you know, I was just comfortable in what I was doing, maybe would be the main thing. So it wasn't until July 2021 that I actually decided to try NFTs. And, you know, I really didn't know anything about it. I got an invite for Foundation, and I started my Twitter account, and I think a new Twitter account specifically for NFTs. And I think the same day I minted my first piece on Foundation. So I mean, talk about jumping right in. I mean, when I decided I was going to do it, I just did it, and I didn't know anything. And this was the piece, and within an hour, someone had purchased it. And I like didn't advertise it on Twitter. I didn't do anything. Apparently they were just it was Moby.eth, Mojo Moby, and he also lives in Las Vegas where I live. And so he just said saw this piece, he was browsing Foundation, he loved it, and he wanted to support an artist from Las Vegas. So that was my introduction to NFTs. And it was after that that I really started, building my community and interacting with people and, promoting my NFTs. And that really was a whole new skill set that I had to learn, and I'm still learning, is the marketing side of things. But yeah, that was how I got into it. It's really not a long story. It's just I thought I'd do it, and I jumped right in.
Oh, I like that, and I like that you have that drive to just jump in and be a part of things. I know, we're very much the same in that respect because, when I can't really watch sports because I want to play them, or I can't really watch people do other things because I want to do it. I don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to actually do it, and if I'm not doing it, it doesn't feel right, right? So I love that your ability to just jump in. After that first sale, did that really? I mean, did you say, "Wow, this is something that I could do"? I mean, this is something that sounds amazing, and this is an industry that is going to go somewhere.
Oh, I definitely did. And I mean, that was during the height of, the NFT boom, I guess you could say, at the time. So it definitely felt like that. But, I love it, and I really have been enjoying it. And I love that it's another way for me to get my photography out there. And so, even during this bear market, I'm up for it. I'm loving it.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm just going to post because I wanted to find your manifold.
Oh, yeah, so
NFT.
that's the one that's on the Poe app. I don't know if I was supposed to say that.
Oh no. No, that's fine. Okay, those listening, this is the picture on the Poe app. It is a beautiful shot. When you showed it to me, I was really excited about it. I find, it's funny that you say that you struggle with, the more creative side, but all of your photos are so creative. I mean, you really do have an eye for this. I think you're really mastering it. I really do. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about this shot and why you chose it for manifold, because that sounds like an interesting story.
Right. Well, when I say I struggle with it, I can use this shot as an example. This is Mount Shasta, and the water is Lake Siskiyou in California, and I've been going there for years. I go with my family usually at least once a year, and you can like rent a boat and go out on the lake, and you're in the view of this majestic mountain. It's an absolutely gorgeous place, but I've been trying to photograph it, and I haven't gotten a photo I've liked, which is the case for most of the places I've been trying to photograph. And then just the last year when we went there, um, you know, I really like near far compositions, which is finding something close, and combining that with something majestic in the background, to create a sense of depth. And so, one thing I struggled with at this lake is that I didn't find a lot of options for foregrounds that had a good view of the mountain. So, like, one thing I don't really like in my photography is like things to be sticking up into the sky, because the sky is such a huge part for me. I want to fully emphasize the sky. So, all the places I would find at this lake that would have good foreground interest, I wouldn't have a clear view of the mountain or a clear view of the sky. So then finally, I'm like, I really have to just let the location dictate what I'm photographing more than trying to force it. And so with this, I decided to really focus on the sky and the reflection. And I did find this one log, which I also struggled with because when I first went to take this photo, I went right up close to the log. And I'm like, darn it, the log's not pointing at the mountain. I really want it to point at the mountain. So I spent some time moving around with my camera, and I found if I went pretty far to the right of the log and had it just in the left of the frame, then the camera would, the wide angle would distort it in such a way that it would point right at the mountain. Um, so that's what I talk about, like struggling a little bit with the creativity and the composition, is that I'm not the kind of person that can just like walk out to this place and know, okay, I have to be left of the log and then I'll get what I want. I have to really, try for a while and research, think about it in my head as I'm moving around and looking through the camera to figure out, how does this make a compelling composition for me. So once I found out where I needed to be to get the log pointing at the mountain, which is what I really wanted to, I actually first took some photos at sunset because at sunset you get the light shining on the mountain, which is what I really, really wanted. But since this lake has so many boats and stuff on it, it has a lot of ripples, and I just couldn't get the reflection. I couldn't get what I wanted. So this is at sunrise. And it's got a little light on the mountain, enough that I like it. But first I took photos and I was like, no, it's not doing it for me. So then I decided that if I did a long exposure, that would really help to emphasize the sky and the lake. I was doing like maybe 20 seconds just to smooth out the lake and the reflection. But I'm like, I'll try even longer. So I think this is about a minute and a half. And it really made those streaks of clouds in the sky. And then, I just know it when I get it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the photo. Like the sky and the reflection and the log. I just love the way everything points towards the mountain. And even though in this, the mountain is small, it's not really the focal point of the photo. It's more about the sky. It was just, I knew that I had finally gotten a shot that I loved from this place. And you asked me one other question about it. Oh, why did I choose to mint it to manifolds, right? I wanted something that I thought would be eye-catching in the gallery, like that would stand out from the rest of the things that were there. So if somebody was just browsing through the gallery, it might catch their eye. And so that's one reason I chose this, because I thought the colors are very catchy in it, like the way it goes from pink on one side to blue on the other. And then the other reason is because it didn't really fit in with any of those two collections that I'm working on, although I probably could have put it into the envisioned collection. So I was deciding between putting it in envisioned or putting it in manifold. And I just thought it would stand out a little bit in manifold. And that's the main reason I chose this one.
Wow, that is both answers are fantastic, and thank you for sharing about how you do find that shot, and I think you hit it. I mean not every shot is great, right? And getting around to get the right one, and then when you get the right one, you really are excited about it, right? Because and with this one, I have to agree, you nailed it with this. I mean, the colors on both sides, the blues and the whites and everything on one side, and the pinks and oh man, it's just such a great shot on both sides. And I just love how it just pops in. And I think you're 100% right that it really is the sky, and the mountain. I've been to Shasta a few times, and I really like that area, by the way. But the reflection's beautiful. You could sit and look at this photo and you can see all kinds of stuff. The shadows are beautiful. You just hit it at the right time, and the wide angle is just a fantastic, and the log. Now, I did have a question about the log. Did you want the log at first to go away, or did you like the log being there?
No, I liked the log being there. I actually could have moved to the right and the log wouldn't have been in the photo, but I wanted the photo to be there. I think I might have taken some pictures with my other camera without the log.
Wow.
But I definitely liked the ones with the log.
Yeah, it was a fantastic choice to include it. That was another selfish question. Sorry, but I just wondered because you have this setup that you're really looking for, and I like that. I love this collection, and we'll talk a bit about that in a second. But these collections that you're coming up with, but yeah, I mean, you definitely hit the right. I mean, it's aligned just perfectly into the right, like the reflection of the mountain right at the top, right at the peak, it looks like, and that line is so cool, and it just adds to the photo really. And it's just a wonderful photo throughout. I mean, congratulations on the shot.
Thanks. So the other reason I think I like the log is because this whole concept of balance. And
Yes.
so, in this one, there really is more interest on the right because that's where that stunning pink sunrise is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So having the log on the left helps to balance that a little bit. So your eye's just not always drawn to the right half of the photo.
Yeah, and I made the comment, and we have a couple of chats going, but you are a very brilliant photographer. I mean,
Thanks.
I mean, it's hard not to say because you really are, and all of the photography I've seen from you is just absolutely fantastic, and I have to share that because that's how I feel.
Well, thank you. I mean, I do not publish very many of my shots, so I hope that the ones I choose, are all kind of visually stunning.
They definitely are. That's for sure. Now, so this is I want to, and we'll get to the POAP, folks, but the POAP really looks like this, and I took out a lot of. Because we usually do camera culture and we have like a camera lens, and it cuts off a little bit of the photo. But I actually decided to take that out because the photo is just so beautiful. So you're getting a little bit different from camera culture this time for the POAP. So we'll do that in a few minutes. But I think you said a lot of different things that the NFT photographers can take into thought when they're doing their work. And I like to point this stuff out because it is really meaningful when you take the time to develop collections, like you have the Sun Stars, and you're doing these other collections that you take the time to curate your work. And if you wouldn't mind spending some time talking about how you actually do that, because I think it's really valuable for other photographers to understand that, or even artists understand that it is important to do that in most cases, because I think it feels more professional in my opinion. But yeah, maybe you can discuss a little bit how you come up with Sun Stars or how you come up with your other collection ideas and how you curate the pieces.
Right. Well, for me, I think having a cohesive collection is very important. And even if it's like visually cohesive, like when you look at that first page where you see all the pieces in the collection, if it's visually cohesive and they go well together, I just feel like it'll draw people in more and make them want to look at the photos and collect the photos. So that's something I've really been focusing on a lot when I build in a collection, is having that visual cohesiveness to it. And so when I did the Sun Stars, I was relatively new to the space. And so I knew I wanted, I was going to use existing photos because I didn't have time to go out and take new photos. And I wanted something that had a cohesive theme, like something that all the photos had in common, but they could each stand on their own as well. Um, and so, I looked through my photos, and at the time, I thought I needed at least 20 photos. Now I feel differently about that. If I would do Sunstars over again, I may have only put like 10 or 15 in it. But people were doing very large collections at the time. And so I thought, oh, I need at least 20. Um, so I looked through all my photos and I spent a lot of time thinking about it, trying to think, what is something I can put together as a collection that has 20 photos. And I love shooting these sun stars. It's one of my favorite things to photograph. And I think I mentioned that um, kind of because of the technical side of it, and also to get the right conditions. Like there are a couple in here that have more clear skies, and those are some of the older ones. But as I've grown in photography, I've just loved, finding clouds that complement my photos. And so to get the right conditions to have clouds and also get a sun star is challenging. So that's another reason I like it. And then the last reason I love photographing sun stars is the dramatic light. So if you're shooting into the sun, you'll almost always get more dramatic light than if you're shooting away from the sun. And I also like shooting away from the sun, especially if I'm shooting mountains. Like you don't find many mountains in the sun star collection. But if I'm shooting at the ocean or canyon, I like to, or like a canyon, I like to have something else of interest in the photo. And I find that the sun star and the dramatic light can really do that. So looking through my photos, I came up with these 20 that I thought went well together. And each one has a sun star that you can clearly see in the photo. Some it's bigger and more apparent than others, but they all have that in common. And so that's really what I based the collection around. And I haven't done something exactly like that since then. The other collections I've done are called Pillars of the Earth. I have Pillars of the Earth, a prelude, which was a few photographs from the Oregon coast, which I thought went well together. And then that's on Foundation. And then Pillars of the Earth Timeless, which is my collection of editions. And in that one, it was all day and night, showing the timelessness of these time, showing time moving over these timeless landscapes. And so in each of them, I try and find something that it has in common, like Pillars of the Earth, a prelude, all had sea stacks, and I thought they went visually well together. And so my new collections have different themes, but they'll always have a cohesive theme and they will go well together visually. That's really what I look for when creating a collection.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is fantastic for people to think about when they're doing their own collections. The cohesive themes, putting things together that match. It's important. I think in the presentation of your work to take the time to really curate that work and really display it properly, and I think you do a fantastic job of that.
Thanks.
Well, okay. Wow, this went by really, really fast, as it usually does. But let's get that POAP out because I know we have some folks listening that love the POAPs. So the secret word. So jump on the app if you have it open. It is the POAP app, and go to the secret word.
I think I have to do it too, right?
Yes. Arwin's on it. Secret word, and then under the Minta POAP, type in beautiful sky. One word, beautiful sky. And you will get this really, really beautiful POAP from Arwin. Her work is just fantastic. And yeah, it's we took out that big circle and now we have a big, huge circle of the beautiful photography. So that looks way better. I love it. Yeah. So congratulations. No, we're getting some comments that let's minute so fast that Arwin doesn't get one. But if you didn't get one,
got it. It says minting.
Good. Okay. If you didn't get one, I'd make sure you got one. But yeah, everybody loves it. They're very excited about it. And yeah, this has been fantastic, Arwin. As usual, I love having you on because I get a chance to spend some time looking at your beautiful photography, honestly, and talk to you and learn about your all of the things. I mean, really, it's quite amazing to me how your skills have really developed. It's crazy. Because I am that analytical person. I am that person doing computer science, and art is something that is something I love to do myself. And I wish I had more time to do it. But seeing your journey is really inspiring to me. So yeah, I can't wait to talk to you again in like maybe a couple months, and we'll see where you're at again.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, I view, growing as a big part of anything we do, and progressing and improving. And so, if we don't do that, then maybe it's not worth doing. We always need to continue improving.
Absolutely. And so for those folks, I know you said a little bit about your plans for the future. But to leave some people with a little bit more, what can they expect from you within the next month or so?
All right, so I'm not going to say within the next month, but at least within the next 2 months, probably within the next few weeks, I'm releasing another set of additions to the collection Pillars of the Earth Timeless. So that's the one that has photos from the same location at day and night, to show, the movement of time at these timeless locations. And I'll tell you, I haven't told many people. I think though the next ones are going to be from Monument Valley. And there's some shots there that I got there that I really love, one from the day and one from the night. And so that's probably going to be the next thing coming up from me.
Wow, that's fantastic. And the folks that have seen Arwin's work knows that these are going to be some amazing shots. So please follow Arwin on all of her socials, and make sure that you're ready for that when it comes, because I can't wait. Arwin, this has been fantastic, and yeah, I mean, I know this isn't goodbye, but it's goodbye for now. And yeah, we will. We're gonna have you on again. Hopefully, when you do your drop of these next works, you can stop by and show them to us. That'd be fantastic.
Okay, sure. I mean, I only release small edition sizes. So they're 2 photos, 20 editions each. So there won't be a lot available, but it will be at a reasonable price. So I'll definitely let everyone know.
Oh yes, please. That sounds fantastic. And I would love for you to come on and show some of your behind the scenes videos when you do have those ready. I think that would be really cool to see.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're taking me a long time to upload, but they'll be there soon.
All right. Well, thanks everybody, and thanks Arwin. This has been fantastic, and we always appreciate everyone coming to the shows and coming to hang out with us. It's been amazing, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.